Alright, we're going to attempt to tram in the mill. Now this is an NT30 adaptive, nobody knows what that is. It's got a fairly long taper there, it's got the locator, and it's got a 12mm thread in there. So that's basically the unit that you use. Now that is coupled up with the ER32 collet assembly. Now to check to make sure it's vertical, we'll just bring that in a fraction. So we've got a square, so when we bring that in, now sitting on the square, there's no gap vertically there. So in other words, left to right, that unit is okay. Now when we turn it a fraction like so, I can't show you sideways, but when we come back in here, we check that, and we check that alignment, which is reasonably good as well. But that's all right to say when it's like that, but what it's going to be like once you put gauges on is different. Then we've got this particular tool here. Now that will go into here like so, and we have as close to straight as we can. Now what we need to do is have a drop point, for example. Well, we can use this just as a guide, so we can turn around and say, all right, that will be roughly in that area there. When we turn him around, whoops, that's that's a normal thing, nothing to worry about. Okay, so we say, right, that's there. So we don't want it there, we want to get a better view of the table. So it's just a matter of having a look, and I could have done this without anybody being here at all, you know, but I'm just showing you what you can and can't do. So you just roughly set it up, or approximately. So I've got it on this one at the moment. When we bring it around, that's there as well, but we want it out to the end. So if we just draw this out of a fraction to there, and what we'll do is just very, very lightly nip it up. We don't want much because we need to be able to move it. All right, we'll just throw that back into here, for example. Bring that down, we say, okay, we'll just bring it to there, for example. Rotate it. And when we bring it down, it's about just off center. So okay, we can bring it back a fraction, doesn't really matter. And then just recheck it again on this side. And that's pretty well centered there. So we can say, all right, at the moment, that is perpendicular to the table. That from the center to there is approximately the same size. So we've got 1+ there, that's fine. But now what we're going to do is, we've got our gauge here like so. That's got, as you can see there. Now what we're going to do depends on which side you're putting it on, this side or that side. So what we also need to do, just to make sure everything is straight, we sort of bring that through, and that's yeah, that's, well, I don't know if you can see that, but anyway, there's no gap there, so that's fine. So if we just gently hold that, we'll nip up the actual stud underneath. If I if I can find it, there we go. We give it a really good nip up because you don't want it to move, and then you recheck it. All right, so there's no gap, so that's perpendicular, horizontal, if people don't know. Then we've got our grub screw. Oops, get the right tool. And if you're really, really conscientious, bring that back to here until you get a nice vertical on there, like so, and then nip that one up as well. Make sure they are snug, and I mean not over tight so you're going to kill it, but snug so it cannot move in any way or form, and then you recheck it. Now that is just the start of what you're going to do. Now because you put this on, you'll find that this section is not going to line up with that because we didn't allow for the extra. So you have to be careful in that aspect. I'm not trying to be funny, smart, or trying to draw the video out because I wouldn't do that. No way. Oh dear. All right, so we bring that back in. Just recheck our perpendicular. Which is okay. So we've got a good line there. Bring it back, and we've got a good line in there as well. All right. So that's that part. So initially, what we've done is we've only spent a few minutes to make sure that is perpendicular this way as well as this way. This is perpendicular. That is squared off with this, so that should come straight down. So the next part is you can either bring it down here, which as soon as you go through the quill, then you've got probably 50mm movement there, and as soon as you do that, it's going to be further out. So if we bring the table up, whoops, wrong, you have to excuse me there. All right, what we're going to do is just recheck. Whoops. Just going to recheck to make sure we're still in line. All right, we'll just recheck to make sure that is definitely in line here, which it is, and it's also in line up this side. So, and then it'll sweep across. Well, we have to alter the table for that, doesn't matter. But right there, that's in the centre approximately. Now, if we just bring the table up slowly, give it a full turn, full complete, we'll bring our 0 to the top like so, which is right there. Now, if we're just gently, this is only very slightly preloaded. I'm sorry if I'm in the way. All right, that's close enough what we want there. We can just move that up and down a couple of times to make sure we've got the same reading. So I can't show you because of the type of situation it is, because I haven't got 10,000 cameras, so it makes it a bit awkward. Now that at the moment, I don't know if you can actually see that, that's on the 0. I'll bring this back to here. Now that part is approximately 2 thou out, so this part is higher than this part here. And just to check it, we can lift that up and down. So that's got a negative, so that table, not the table so much, well, the table has to be raised, but which means you'd have to bring that forward, if that makes sense. And we can check the other side here. And that's slightly out as well. All right, but we need to do one at a time. So we can either do the horizontal as in the X first, which we can do because it's a lot easier, or we can do the other part on this particular machine, like that on the 0 there. And that's approximately negative 2 thou. Now the problem with the HM54GV is that if you go left or right, we've got an adjustment up here. That's not a problem. But if we need to adjust it here, we have to loosen the main head bolts. And that's a big square thingo here, and it has to be shim adjusted. And that's the biggest fault on this machine. But if you're to get the other machines, yes, they're fully adjustable, forwards, backwards, left and right. So what we need to do now is undo these bolts and then get that 2 thou adjusted. Now before I do forget, what I've done is when I've been tramming, I've put the level back in, whether it's this way or around that way, to make sure that the table's always been in line with that, and you'll see photos as we go along. All right, we've trammed in the mill now. What goes on is because you've got different width from that end to the other end compared to when you go sideways, because none of these line up. So I've got photos there. So I've got, as you can see, it's on 0 there right this minute. And what I'll do, I'll turn it around. I'll have to show you through the mirror. Well, you can see that anyway. That's on 0 as well. That's the back end of it, and you can see the other part of the mill there. Now what I'll do, I'll move the table and I'll do it on its side to show you. Alright, as you can see, that's on 0 as well. And I've turned it on the other side and you can see it's 0 as well there. Whether it's there or whether I move it over a fraction doesn't really matter. You're still going to get 0 anyway, see that? So that's not a problem now. So the spindle is not only vertical, but it's also trammed on the X and Y axis, so it's all 0. Now what happens is, with this particular machine, you've got the head assembly here, so you can see the head there. Now on the back here, you've got a bolt there and a bolt here, and then you've also got another 2 on the other side, which I'll show you in a minute. Now what I've had to do, and I've left it sitting proud, is you can see I've got some alloy foil under there, and that has spaced out the bottom to bring my 0 back in on the table. Now when we come back to the other side of the machine here, see that's the other 2 bolts there. So once all they're locked up, that means your vertical is trammed in. Now to get the left and right, there's a bolt here, a bolt under there sort of thing, then there's one on the opposite side, and then you've got this adjuster here, so you can actually turn it and you'll go 45 degrees either way. So you have to keep on going backwards and forwards until you got your 0. And this particular machine here, it's just under the 0 mark, so it's pretty close to showing a correct 0. So right now we've got a trammed in machine, and so what's next is I'm going to tram in the actual vise and put that on and go from there.